So welcome everyone to the second session of our Ask Me Anything session with Jason, Margaret, and myself. And basically these sessions are for you guys to ask any questions that you might have, and we are here to help support you, answer your questions about selling on Amazon, private label, sourcing from China, sourcing from India, anything that you want. Can I please request you, if possible, please turn on your videos, because this is like a Zoom meeting interactive. It's nice to see people's faces instead of just talking to names. Yeah, hi Farah, good to see you. Amber, Ben, awesome, cool. So Jason, Margaret, we had one question that was sent in to us by Ravi, and Ravi is actually here. So maybe Ravi, do you want to ask your question first? And then we'll go to the others. Where's Ravi? Ravi, you can unmute and ask.
Yeah, morning to everyone. My first question is, I've been registered for brand registry through the IP accelerator. And I already got my serial number, and I want to further to enroll into that brand registry in Amazon. There was 2 times a rejection regarding my posting. They claim it's a computer generated design were imposed on my picture. That's not true, but I have taken the picture with the brand on the product. So they claim this is computer generated. I just want to know how to overcome this, because twice I already appealed to them and they are telling the same thing. Maybe you have some experience to guide me through.
What do you think, Jason?
Okay, thanks Ravi for that question. I think that's a common issue. So it seems like number one, your branding on your product is legitimate, but it's just on Amazon's end that they are, well, not happy with it. Honestly, I have two thoughts. Number one, shouldn't your IP accelerator law firm be the one submitting the brand registration for you? And typically, if you use the IP accelerator, that happens without any hassle on your end. So you might want to go through the law firm that you engaged. Number two, the other option is just keep submitting the photos. Maybe take a new photo, slightly vary the angle or something. I know people who have appealed like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times and are so discouraged because Amazon just doesn't play ball, and then eventually on the 7th attempt submitting the same thing, they get approved.
Yeah, it depends who looks at it on the day.
Yep.
So if you actually, I couldn't quite hear you. Is the brand name actually on your product, or is that on your packaging and not on your product?
It is on the, because it is a carrying bag, I engraved my logo on the bag.
So it's actually on the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know people have had trouble and they've had to, hold the box and the product on 2 hands in front of the camera, get someone to take a photo, and that worked because they could see that they were there. But if it's on the bag, that's going to be like, I don't know, do they think it's doctored up or something? I don't know.
That's a great suggestion by Margaret with your hands. And Ben in the chat has actually a fantastic suggestion. Amazon wants to see that it's not like a white background Photoshop kind of thing. So if you take it like in a real life setting, like somebody actually holding it, yeah, that might work.
Yeah, not your actual main photo. I think that might be your problem.
Yep.
And yeah, so if you hold it on your hand and, have you got another package that it's got your logo on it at all, that the bags are going in or anything? Because then if you've got 2, you can sort of, put them both up, with you in the photo. So, that way then they know it's a real photo.
When I was sending my photos to the law firm, then they asked me to use my mobile phone to take photos. And they said, don't use professional photos, just use your phone to take a crappy photo and, make the product look like authentic and not really made up, and don't edit the photos at all. Don't Photoshop, don't adjust the lighting, brightness, nothing. Don't edit the photos at all. So yeah, just curious, Ravi, are you sending them your images from your listing, like your product images, the really nice ones?
Yeah, it is from the listing.
Don't send the nice ones, send the crap.
Yeah.
Just do a selfie with the product.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, give that a try and then let us know in the Telegram group how it goes and what the outcome is. Okay, did you have another question, Ravi?
Yeah, I have another one. I have remember reading somewhere, if your sales is achieving more than 10,000 K in your monthly, so is it true that we need to buy some product indemnity insurance coverage?
Yes, it's true. I always tell people, at least Amazon gives you till you hit 10,000 revenue. They're not asking for it from day one. And the main point of the insurance is Amazon wants you to have insurance that covers them. So if you want to find out more, Magla, Margaret, myself, we've done some interviews and webinars with several insurance providers. So you can look for that. Yep, there we go. Magla's put a link there in the chat.
Yeah, so Jason has an article on it as well. We did an article too. And in our article, we also talk about EIN and how to apply for an EIN, because as an overseas seller, you will need to give them your EIN and also a US address. So in case you don't have a US address, the article also tells you, I think, Jason, does your article also explain that? How to get...
If you use a US insurer like Ashlyn, then yes, you will need an EIN. If you use insurer that's in your home country, whether that be Australia or Singapore, then you don't need an EIN. So for example, I use my insurance is through Galaxy with Chubb. So I don't need an EIN for that.
Yeah.
But an EIN is free anyway. I do have an EIN.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Ravi, take a look at those resources and those will help you. Any other question from you, Ravi?
At this moment, no. Maybe you can go for other than that. If I have ask again.
Okay, cool. So Craig, Craig has a question. The best way to approach businesses to work with. Craig, could you clarify what exactly you mean? What types of businesses?
I'm looking to work with wholesalers. So I would like to know what would be the best way to approach them when trying to reach out to work with them. And I know I've taken the Amazon course on wholesalers, but I'd still like to figure out what to talk with them, how to ask them to form a partnership, form a business relationship with them to sell their products on Amazon.
Okay, so you mean, like, for example, open a wholesale account, let's say with Mattel, and then sell their toys or something?
Yeah.
So I suppose there are a few different approaches, and there isn't like a one size fits all. I would say ideally it's to meet them face to face. So previously I would go to trade shows and meet with vendors who are there. Barring that, then you can always contact them. So depending on the brand, sometimes go to their website, sometimes they have a page on Wholesale, and you can click there for the contact information. Sometimes they just have like contact us for wholesale inquiries, so then just drop them an email or fill out the contact form. And if you want to, pick up the phone if they have a contact number, and give them a call and ask to speak to someone about a wholesale account. I don't know if that answers your question.
I think it was more like what type of what would you say to get them interested, or how would you say, what would you type in the email? That's type of stuff. Like, how would you approach them in your, sorry.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
how do you introduce yourself? Is that what you mean?
Yes, yeah. How would I introduce myself and ask them to, hey, I want to work with you. Let's form a partnership type of deal. How to approach that?
A wholesale typically wouldn't have a partnership kind of thing. They would just have the pre-existing wholesale pricing, which might have like different tiers, like price breaks. And essentially, they would just send you that information, typically. So they're not interested in really like forming a partnership or whatever. So essentially, I would keep the email really short and sweet, get straight to the point. That would be how I would approach it. I don't know. Margaret's approach might be different.
No, well, I think if you write too much, they're not going to read it all. Like, it's no good sending in like a I suppose your whole
story.
profile of your life. They're not really interested in that.
Mhm.
I mean, so I think, yeah, just like Jason said, sweet and to the point, but clarify that, maybe, have you had experience of doing anything similar to this, or just something to make them want to come back to you, something about yourself that that you've got some experience in something, or not that you just sort of haven't got a clue what you're doing, because you're not going to get a response from that, obviously.
Yeah, I used to have about 20 wholesale accounts. Typically, how I would my email to them would be, hi, I'm so and so, and we are really interested in opening a wholesale account with you. Would you be able to send me your price list by email? And more or less, that's it.
So not that different from the Amazon learning course.
Yeah,
the private,
Proven Amazon course, a PAC.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think most companies would have some sort of a program, a wholesale program. So they would, in some cases, also ask you to fill in a form or, submit your details, and yeah.
Yes, I've seen that in my research.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
May I ask a
Yeah.
question regards to wholesale? What's the typical margins that we should look for? Like, for example, let's say selling Mattel toys. What is the typical margin there?
Sorry, for example, what?
Some Mattel toys. What's the typical margin that we're expecting, and what amount to look for to know that it's profitable?
I would say it's the same, do the numbers, and you want to make sure there's sufficient margin. If it's something that would sell itself, like let's say it's a Marvel toy, they would, or Fisher Price, they sell themselves, so there's no advertising involved. Then I probably would want a 15 to 20% profit margin at the end of the day. The only issue with I've stopped wholesale altogether since 2016 because I found that it's not worth my time, effort, and it's not sustainable, in my opinion, in the long run on a channel like Amazon. And the reason for that is the same Fisher Price or Mattel toys, or Lego for that matter, there's just not enough margin in those. And the reason is because the big retailers like Walmart would get it at a much better price than whatever you can purchase at, because they're purchasing like $500 million worth at a shot at one go, and you are purchasing like $5,000 worth. So you can imagine they would be obtaining it at a far better wholesale price. And then by the time you have shipping costs from, let's say, Mattel to a prep center, and then you pay the prep center to package, label the thing, and then you pay shipping again to FBA, you're going to be probably making a loss. which is why I always tell people the money is to be made in the brand, which is why Nike, for example, or Reebok, they make a t-shirt, let's say for 50 cents or $1, they slap on their logo and they now can sell it for $50. It's not the t-shirt factory that makes the most margin. It's not the retailer that makes the third-party retailers that make the margin. It's the brand owner that makes the most margin. Yeah. So, but typically wholesale price for those companies is, let's say 30-40% below retail price, your wholesale price. But once you add in Amazon costs, right, once you do the numbers, you're probably going to be selling at a loss.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of competition, really. You know, you're competing against so many people. I mean, if you can find something private label that you can put on Amazon, and then you've got something to sell at the end as well. You've got, you know, a couple of years down the track, you can sell your brand. I mean, if you're doing wholesale, you've really got nothing to sell.
Yep, Margaret's right. You have to fight for the buy box on Amazon if you're selling like a third-party brand. What happened to me, like I had this particular Fisher Price toy that was selling really well. It was selling like $29.90 something on Amazon. I was buying it at $19.90 whatever. So it was one of my first products in 2013 actually. And so first like whatever 20 sets or one carton I ordered all sold out within like 2 days. So I went in and ordered a whole lot more. By the time they got into Amazon, now Amazon's a seller of this same Fisher Price Alphabet Dinosaur, but Amazon is selling it at the price I paid for it. As in Amazon themselves. So then I'm stuck with hundreds of units. And if I price match Amazon, I'm going to be losing like $10 per sale or something.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question from Cynthia. What is your view on price moving up and down $3 plus minus during testing? 3 months changes, 3 to 4x.
Oh, so like changing it like every month, more or less.
Yeah.
Which you mean up and down? Why would you change it up and down all the time?
Yeah, what's the reason for that, Cynthia?
Just to see what is the sales movement like, you know, with the price difference and PPC, with PPC up and down or with price up and down.
Okay, price testing. I guess if you want to do price testing, sure, you can do that. You can ABC test different price points over, let's say, 1 or 2 weeks per price point. But you want to make sure, of course, then that all things, is ceteris paribus, that everything else remains equal. I guess you can do that if you want to.
Does Amazon penalize all the price changes frequently?
No, actually, one of the things that I used to do, I haven't changed my prices in a long time, but when I was starting out, I used to plus minus my price by 1 or 2 cents every now and then. The reason for that is, as an Amazon shopper myself, I have a Prime account. I've noticed that if I've browsed a product on Amazon, and what tends to happen is occasionally I'll get an email from Amazon that says, hey, the product that you were looking at has gone up by 2 cents or gone down by $1. So when you actually vary your price, Amazon's engine actually sends an email to the customers who have viewed the product or added it to their cart to say, hey, you were interested in this, FYI, it's just gone down by 5 cents. So sometimes then you, that's free marketing essentially. But no, I don't think Amazon penalizes. The way to make sure Amazon doesn't penalize you for your pricing strategy is always make sure to, when you create the listing, to fill the manufacturer's suggested retail price. So when you create an Amazon listing, you can put like 3 different pricings. One is the MSRP, So always make sure, let's say you want to sell the product at $30, then make sure your MSRP is above $30. And then your actual selling price, you set it at something at equal to or less than. I typically always do less than. The reason for that is Amazon has programmed their system in such a way where if you do not fill the MSRP field, then Amazon's bot will look at your selling price, and if it thinks it's too high, it will suppress the buy box, meaning there will be no add to cart button. That will severely hamper your sales. So always set, let's say, so Cynthia, like if you want to set at $30, then maybe set an MSRP of $39.99. And then you can play with your price variations, anything below your MSRP.
Yeah, look, sometimes you can get the strikeout price if you have established a selling price. It doesn't always happen. It used to be really easy to get the strikeout price, which shows really nicely. So you might be selling it, for $40 and have your retail price at $60. So it would show that you've given like a 30% discount. But I'm finding that very difficult to get and to keep now. It used to be great. And, I've tried several times and I get one and then all of a sudden they take it away again. So, and I don't know why, because I haven't moved anything. So it's something in the back end that they're obviously fiddling with now. That's not as, it was great when it was easy to do.
Yep.
Okay, so next question from Mabel. Would love to hear all three share tips on how to rank on top of the fold on first page, and how do you maintain that position? Isn't that the $1 million question? Everyone
Lots of money. Lots and lots of PPC spent.
Number one, ranking on top of the fold is always related to a keyword. So if it's a very long tail, low competition keyword, then hey, you're gonna be able to rank really, really easily. But if it's a more short tail, common keyword, then it's something most likely most sellers of similar products have optimized for. Then it will be much harder. Then of course, you probably have to spend. The three main factors that would help you rank high would be, number one, how well optimized your listing is for that keyword, and like in the title, etc. Number two would be your advertising strategy. So you can occupy various spots on top of the fold. So that's the headline banner position. If you have 3 or more products, then you can bid for keywords to occupy that space. Then of course the other one would be the sponsored product positions. The other factors, some of them are not in our control. For example, they are sort of your sales velocity that is attributed to the keyword. So how many sales has this product generated, and the conversion ratios, the click-through rate, rates, etc., that originated from customers searching like particular keywords that led to them clicking and buying your product. So that is accumulative over time. And then the other factor, number 4, that's not really in our control would be what's the competition doing? Like you might find that, hey, it's really easy to rank using PPC, let's say a 40-cent click, 40-cent bid, and you're always like on the top of page 1. And then like next week you check, hey, there's somebody else now. Then that's because a competitor has now started to bid for that keyword at a higher bid price than you. So, yep.
Yeah, and I think too, you can have a look at Helium 10 and just see what they're saying you need to sort of sell in like every 8 days. There's a report that you can look at and it will tell you how many products you need to sell. So if you're only selling 6 and it tells you need to be selling 20, there's no way knowing you're going to maintain that keyword on page 1 because the competitors are too sort of strong for you at that point, either with PPC, the whole thing. So, but that's a good way to look. And I think if you're looking for a product, you should always look at that and see, to get to page 1 with this keyword, do I need to be selling 40 a day? And I mean, if you look at something and it's 40 or 50 a day, you know, have you got the budget to get to that to start with? Because it's not easy to start selling that unless you've got, you know, a bit of a dream product. I mean, most people launch and it's not easy to start selling 40 in the first few weeks.
Yep.
So, you know, that's another way you can have a look before you dive in, I think, and to see whether you're really going to do that product before you try and get to page 1.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Farah is asking, can I clarify if the brand 5665 requirement only applicable when you are creating a new listing or a new listing with a new brand that you're trying to create?
Okay.
I'm not too sure whether it happens with a new listing with a new brand. So you're just changing your brand name. Is that what you're doing, Farah?
Yeah, that's right.
So like you're trying to use a brand name for your product and then you're encountering 5665.
So basically, let's say my brand name is ABC and I've already got an approval for, you know, the brand 5. I've already gone through the approval for that. And what if I wanted to create another brand, you know, FGD? Would I have to go through, you know, another round of getting approval for the brand 5665, or do I not need to do that?
Okay, just to clarify, this is not for brand registry. Right? This is just to fill in the brand field.
Correct. Yeah, sorry about
that. You might. Yeah.
I think you just have to try it.
Yeah, it's one of those things you just have to, if you're going to do that brand anyway, you're going to use it, then just go ahead and try doing it and then see what happens.
Okay. Thank you.
Let us know in the Telegram group how it went.
Yeah, I will.
Cool. Okay, so next question from Mabel. Do we need to pay taxes for advertising at Amazon? If yes, how do we pay taxes? And are there any more taxes that we need to pay other than the one in our own country, example, Singapore?
Okay. Anytime there's a tax question, I'll start with a disclaimer. I'm not a tax consultant. Taking this as my layperson's advice based on personal experience. As far as I know, if for advertising fees on Amazon, you pay GST, Mabel, in your case from Singapore. So you'd pay, Amazon has to remit because Amazon is providing a service to you. So Amazon is required by the Singapore tax authorities to pay them the 7% GST. All right. So Amazon will then therefore charge you 7% GST. If you are GST registered in Singapore, you can there is a place in Seller Central to fill in your GST number. And I believe then that when that happens, then Amazon does not add GST to your advertising fees.
Does that answer your question, Mabel?
So does that mean we don't have to pay any taxes? That means we already paid the taxes for advertising on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
if you look at your advertising invoice, right, which is like, you can go download your advertising invoices on Amazon, and you will be able to see the breakdown.
I see, because I received an email from Amazon to say that, you know, there is this tax that I have to worry about.
Did they say you have to pay it? Or it's just like a
notification?
Yeah.
Is this in Singapore you're talking, Mabel, or is that where you're talking about?
On .com.
Oh, on America.
Maybe is it just a notification to tell you that you
it's a notification
that you are being charged GST?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. You have to read the notification. I don't know what your notification says. There's like a ton of notifications. I get like 200 a day from Amazon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and there are no other taxes that we need to pay except for our own.
Yeah, I don't pay anything in the US and I'm in Australia. I mean, it's whatever I bring back to Australia that becomes taxable. That's the only tax that, we have here.
Okay, next question from Ben. How can we scale our business further, especially if our budget is not so much, by looking for more products or focus more on existing selling products? Yeah, this is a good question. What do you guys think?
Mark, want to go first?
Well, what I would say is I would add a few more products, really, and spread my risk instead of trying to scale one that you might scale it and you don't know what can happen. You might get a few competitors come in and you've put all your eggs into that one basket, and all of a sudden the competition is really tough around you, and they can start playing with prices, PPC and everything else. So to me, I like to have a spread of a few different products and try and like you might find, look, I might find some days one product mightn't sell anything for some reason, don't even ask me why, and then everything else will sell, and then you might go 2 days and something else won't sell. Like, so if you've got one product, you're going to have some, more ups and downs. I think if you've got 3 or 4 products that you can spread the load across, you're still going to, over a month, average very similar sales, unless, there's something going on in the world economy or, different things like that. That's what I personally like to do.
Yeah, I agree with Margaret. I think there are pros and cons either way. So it depends on what your risk appetite and your own personal goals are. For me, I tend to prefer to be risk averse. So I used to be a combat engineer in the military, so we would build bridges and blow up bridges. And so I always have this analogy of you always want to build multiple bridges to cross any water obstacle. You don't want to depend on one bridge, because if that bridge gets blown up, then you're stuck. So for me, for example, I have suppliers. I have suppliers based in multiple countries. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I've probably dealt with suppliers from like 6 or 7 different countries, and a total of more than 10 different suppliers. And then I have a diversified product range. And the reason for that, similar to Margaret, is on the sales side, it's if any one of the products, like for some reason, let's say Amazon suspends a listing for whatever ridiculous algorithmic reason, or if the competition suddenly heats up too much and the price war starts for a particular product, dropping that one listing is not going to sink me. And then on the supply side, by having multiple different products that I order from different suppliers, if one of the suppliers falls, that doesn't kill my business either. Like 3 months ago, one of my suppliers in Taiwan actually replied in one of my emails when I made an order. I said, business is really hard now. We don't know how to survive. I'm like, oh, don't tell me you're going to shut. And then more recently, I have one of my best-selling products ran out of stock. And right now it's on a boat on the way to the US. So that knocks a significant chunk of my daily sales because that's coming from overseas. But then because I have other products from other suppliers, being out of stock on one listing isn't going to kill me either.
And I think too, having more than one product, if you, and hopefully everyone listening is gone into this and think about selling that brand at the end. That's your end goal to me, is to not just be an Amazon seller for the next 10 years, but to maybe build a brand up for 3 or 4 years, sell that one, rinse and repeat, because you know the rules this time. You can probably do better the second time round and start again. So if you've got one product, not too many people are going to want to buy a brand with one product. You need, sort of, half a dozen products and something that looks presentable, like a store that's, you don't want to be selling a car tire and a baby bib in that one sort of brand. You want to have a really cohesive nice, you know, that's presented well, that's, you know, in a color theme and a font theme and everything's matching. So I think, you know, if you're going to add products, don't just add willy-nilly because, you know, somebody told you this looks good, or, you know, somebody wants you to sell something because they like it or whatever. You've got to try and make it into something that's related. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing. It could be, you could have a brand by wood or metal, or you might do glasses, and you might do acrylic, you might do plastic, you might do glass, you might do metal. So you can be a specialist in a particular niche or a product in different materials, or you can be a specialist in materials in heaps of different products. I mean, there's lots of ways to do it. It doesn't mean you've got to be really rigid and only sell knives and forks or something. You can just, you know, spread it. It's just got to be something that's a bit related.
Yep. Just to add on to what Margaret said, and then related to Craig's initial question, again, I always emphasize this to people, and having worked with some, I guess you would call them small multinationals for their Amazon sales. I always say you don't actually have a business asset if you're selling other people's brands. You are really just a reseller the only way to have a real business asset, and Margaret mentioned this when she talked about selling off your brand, is the business asset when it comes to this business model is actually having a brand or several brands. That's the thing that has value. Otherwise, you're just selling other people's stuff, and there's zero value in your business.
Okay, does that answer your question, Ben?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Okay, next question from Arthur. Has anyone tried using social media platforms to drive traffic back to Amazon?
Not me. Go for it, Joe.
I haven't, well, I have a bit, but honestly not much, and I haven't done it for years. So why? I guess one of the things is bandwidth. It'll just be, for me, it will just be too much work.
Yeah, and it's a lot more expensive. I mean, it's got to work for you because, you know, if you're paying for PPC, then you start paying for Facebook ads or Instagram ads, your budget can soon run away. And if you've only got a very narrow margin, so, you know, and I mean, it's not easy to get a decent margin of, you know, 50%. I had a call with a guy this morning who said, oh, I've got a really good margin. And then when we looked at it, I said, but hang on, you forgot to add this in. You forgot to add that in. You haven't got that good of a margin. You've got 30%. We haven't done PPC yet. Do you know how much your PPC is going to be? So I think, you know, you've got to be a bit careful with spending too much on advertising. You know, you can turn over a lot of money, but I don't care how much people turn over. They can tell me they turn over $1 million. I want to see how much money they've got in the bank at the end of the year. That's all that matters. You're better off turning over $100,000 and making $10,000 than turning over $1 million and making $5,000. And that's what can happen. And it does happen. Believe it or not, people do $1 million and do not make very much money at all. Yeah, some people have lost money over $1 million in a year because they just go crazy on social media and giveaways. It used to be with Rebate Key, you could give away products to get ranks, and you know, I mean, you can quickly go, if you're not got your finger on your dollar pulse, and that's the most important thing, is that what's in the bank. Because you don't want to work all year for nothing. Because really, you're employing, you're giving everyone, you're helping the world economy because you're paying, you're giving the shipper and the manufacturer and every man that touches that product on its way to the you know, actual purchaser a job, except you're not getting anything at the end. So, you know, it's very nice to be gracious to everyone.
I think it also depends on yourself. So like for me, I'm more technical. Like I like to look at PPC data. I think
You're
it's
sick,
interesting. Whereas, like for example, Farah, like she won this competition to that Megla, Mark, and myself we organized, right? And she won because of her video, and her video was amazing, right? And so somebody like Farah, for you, doing things on social media might actually make sense. because you're good at creating content for social media, and in like if I was good at creating content for social media, I probably would, and I like to do it, then I probably would use it like to promote my product, whether organically or through ads. Like I would do a really active page and have all kinds of posts. But it's just something that I don't enjoy. And if I wanted to do that, I would have to outsource that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Amber, with rising shipping costs and perhaps PPC costs, it means that we potentially have to price our products higher than existing sellers. Do we still try to maintain the same margin? Do you recommend we try to price the same level with other sellers or spend more on PPC, especially if this is the first time you're selling this product?
Okay, if you're just, it's a new product that you are selling and you're new to all this, number one, you have to be price competitive, right? I think you have to be realistic about being price competitive. So if your costs are high and you don't have enough margin, then that's not a product that then you want to reconsider whether it's a product you really should be pursuing. I was surprised. I just had a shipment, international shipment last week that went out, and the shipping cost was actually 30% lower than my previous shipment.
Oh, that was good.
Which was January, I think. So I was pleasantly surprised, like, oh. So, but to answer your question, yeah, there are various things you can do. Again, there is no like fixed answer, right? Like if your margins are really good, then obviously you can maintain your selling price. If your margins are already really tight and a rise in shipping cost, let's say of 30% is going to be loss making for you, then and you want to raise your selling price, but that would make you non-price competitive, then I would think it's a product you want to really consider culling.
Yeah, and I think too, don't just be too despondent with your very first shipment. You know, don't expect to make money. If you think you're going to make a 30% margin, you might in a year, but you're not probably on your first shipment. And it's like, you know, if you go and open a retail store, you're not going to open the door and you've got, you know, 100 customers waiting at that door to buy your products on the first morning. And so you've got to be realistic. I mean, most businesses, bricks and mortar, are lucky to draw a wage in the first 12 months because it is so hard to get yourself going. Amazon's not quite that bad, but I think, you know, don't outprice yourself, you know, start off at a reasonable price and then maybe, you know, slip the price up a couple of dollars and see if your sales all drop back. But, you know, the first 3 months, you're going to blow so much money on PPC. If you, you know, break even, I think you've done pretty well because, you know, there are some costs to get started. You can't just expect to go there on day one and it's all going to happen boom and you're going to be doing your 20 sales a day or whatever you've budgeted on, because it takes a little bit of time, you know, and it depends on your product, it depends on your niche, depends on the competition. There's so many things that, you know, and is it a real in-demand product or is it more of a, you know, thing that's, you know, more at Christmas or in the summer in America, or, you know, there's so many things that influence when you launch and whether it's the demand season. And yeah, it's a lot of things to consider.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Mabel, what would you do when you receive a refund initiated order and the voice of the customer? Would you send an email to offer a full refund? Do you use the standard email in Amazon or Helium 10? If the customer has opted out of receiving messages from sellers, what else would you do?
I do nothing.
Yeah, I do nothing either too.
What can you do, right?
To explain that, Amazon's already refunded them, and if they've written a complaint, like, I don't know, it's got a dent in it, there's nothing you can do about it, and they've already got their money back. So I wouldn't be, you know, doing anything. But look, a lot of these voice of the customers, there's tick boxes they can pick, you know, what their complaint is to get their money back. 90% of the time, it's probably not even justified. People just pick a reason that they don't have to pay a return fee on. So, you know, and I think you've just got to look at it this way. Amazon, like if you're selling on Amazon Australia, you'll be lucky to get a return in a year. If you're selling on Amazon America, you get about 5 to 10%, depending on your niche, all year constantly. It's just the way the American community actually handles, because they've been trained by Amazon that they can send anything back and get their money back 2 months down the track with no valid reason, even if they've used it for Thanksgiving dinner and now they want their money back or whatever. So I think you've just got to get over it. And I know it's sort of at first, you know, people end up in tears because they've got a bad review on their product or somebody said something bad, but a lot of the time it just is not justified. Like we got one the other day saying our product was bent. Unless I went out and put it in a vise and got a hammer and belted it, I don't even know if I could bend it at that point. So there was no way knowing it was bent, but they just thought that that sounded like a good excuse. And another thing is some of those people, the good thing that you might know is when people go for a refund, then they get 60 days to return that product. If they haven't returned it in 60 days, Amazon will actually compensate you for everything but the FBA fee. So they're the ones I like. I like the people that really thieve my product and keep it because they love it so much, and then Amazon will pay me back the money. So that's a good thing to happen if you get a refund. And I probably get a couple of those every month at least, probably more. So it's just, you know, it's just the way it is. So don't take offense to it. The biggest problem is, I think, if you're not selling a lot and you get 2 or 3 on the same product in the same 2 or 3 week window, Amazon might give you a or you'll get a little red message saying that you're about to be suspended or something. But look, when they do it, you go in, you put a dot or something in your headline or something just to make like you've amended the issue, and it'll be straight back up in a little while. So, you know, you've got to be, you know, having a real lot of these complaints and maybe have a real issue to actually get completely suspended.
Yeah. I think the main thing is just don't be too emotional about it. Don't be upset.
You've got to get tough skin. But I mean, it does. Sometimes you just get annoyed. And one that annoys me is delivered late. That really annoys me because Amazon are charging me, you know, $8 or $10 to deliver my product. They deliver it late and it costs me a product because of their incompetence. I believe we should get compensated for those, but I've tried and they won't. They don't play that game.
Okay, next question from JC. For business address, any alternative than putting our official registered Singapore address? Are we able to put our US 3PL logistic address or virtual US address?
There are a couple of different addresses in your Seller Central account. One is the official registered address, which has to be the same as your business registration, like documentation. And then I think the other one's a business address, which is where you operate from. I believe that the business address doesn't have to be the official registered address. Mark was shaking her head earlier.
Oh, well, to me, I don't worry about it. Who cares? And especially if you're not in America, if somebody wants to fly over and knock at my door and complain about my product, go for it. I really don't care. So to me, I'm in Australia. I don't even worry about it. It's got our home address because that's the address of our company and my business with Amazon. And I just leave it at that. I can't see the point in stressing, and you know, I think you can buy a mailing address in the US that you can use and stuff, but then you've got to worry about if people, you know, use that, you've got to keep it monitored, and it does cost you more money. So, you know, it might be a bit different if I was in America and they might come around, you know, with their gun or something, you know. But you know, if you're not living in America, I don't see who cares. And I mean, if they want to Google Maps and see what your house looks like, do you really care? I mean, if they've got time to waste on that and they've bought your product, they must think something of it. So, you know, it's not, I don't think it's worth a heartache. There's too many other things to worry about than your address being shown, I think.
I think just to clarify, because for the business address, it will show in the store front. So that's why I'm looking at it. Are we because it will show the full so-called Singapore address.
Yep.
So it's a bit like privacy.
The one I use, for me, I actually use a com gateway address or virtual post, like vPost address. The reason is my reasoning for that is, like you mentioned, the customers actually see that in the storefront. And so as far as possible, I want to come off as an American seller or project that. Yeah, because like if I put a Singapore address, for example, then they might think that Singapore is part of China, and then like half the people wouldn't buy, right? That's not
maybe we've got an advantage of Australia.
Just to mention for the virtual address, which service provider that you use?
I just use my VPOS or Com Gateway address. Those are like free, actually, shopping services. So they'll give you a suite number, like a PO. It's a street address with like a user ID in address line 2.
And that's in the US, right?
Yep. Typically, they're always in Oregon because it's sales tax free. So like when you shop, let's say, and then it ships there, there's no sales tax.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so next question from Cynthia. I do sourcing directly with suppliers to shipping with my freight forward in China. I have difficulties to switch to other countries as I need to trust and dependent on sourcing agent and unknown added costing. What is your advice looking at current situation in China?
I'm not exactly sure what the question is, sorry.
So Cynthia, do you want to unmute and maybe just clarify? Are you asking like how to find suppliers in other countries?
Yeah, because from the start, I do sourcing from 1688. I'm very comfortable because with the product, whether to make any modification, I can at least roughly know what is the price like of the product quite immediately. And the communication with China, I'm very comfortable because it's very easy and very fast. Well, sourcing with others, I find that it's got to be through email, and also if I want to get a sourcing agent, I am also a lot of not comfortable because I have no control over pricing and things like that. Yeah, this is what I mean. So do I really need to, current situation with China right now, people are talking about the lockdown, delay, shipping, but I'm not quite sure whether, shipping with other countries, like whether India, Vietnam, and things like that, does it also, incur higher costs in the shipping right now?
Mark, do you want to answer
well,
that?
Look, at the moment, shipping is not cheap from anywhere in the world. It's probably less chance. It depends on the volume you're shipping because the costs vary. If you're doing it by the container, India is a lot cheaper at the moment than China per container. But if you're doing smaller orders, look, it depends on where you're shipping from, how much you're shipping. It can vary a lot. Really small shipments are expensive from anywhere in the world. I mean, if you're shipping from India and you're only shipping 200 or 300 items, that is just going to not be, I don't think it's even viable anymore because it works out to about $10 a product to do. If that's what you mean, is that sort of your question?
Yeah, because as I said, I'm not used to shipping out of China. So there's a lot of unknown uncertainties for me, especially doing costing and the timing. Okay, so yeah, probably it's moving out of the comfort zone that I have this problem.
I think, and every country is going to be different, Cynthia. So if you do want to go into any country, you're right, it's not easy. You've got to learn, how shipping works and how to deal with suppliers, and there are different issues. There is no other China in the world. I mean, China is the world's factory. So, most other countries work differently from China. In India, I mean, Margaret and I, we specialize in India. So it's sort of similar to China, but in China, you can just go to the supplier and ask for a price, and within 5 minutes, they'll give you the price because they have a lot of ready products that are, sort of off the shelf, and they have ready catalogs, and they have hundreds and thousands of, products readily available, and they've made those products are in their catalog. Whereas in India, in many cases, you'll have to, go to the supplier and to get a price, they'll in some cases have to create a sample to give you the price of the product. I mean, if they have not already done that product. And just because, most of the products that Indian suppliers do are customized OEM kind of production, they usually will not have like, thousands of products in their catalog. Most suppliers do have catalogs. Some of them have in-house design capability and they develop products in-house and they have those products in their catalog. Other suppliers just feature, maybe some products that they have done for other buyers, just as an indication of their capability in their catalog. So, yeah, I mean, the first thing you have to consider, Cynthia, is, first of all, do you want to source an entirely new product from a different country? That's one thing. So if you want to just diversify your products, then you've got to decide, okay, which country is suitable for this product, because you don't want to just move from China to another country just for the sake of it. And all countries do not make all types of products. So Vietnam, for example, specializes in certain kinds of products. Like there's furniture, for example, that's really good from Vietnam and, in very high quantities. There's also some plastic kind of products that are being made in Vietnam. But again, the quantities are very high. They have high MOQs. And then there's other things like there's some handicraft items, garments, apparel, baskets, those kinds of things are really good from Vietnam as well. In India, you want to do maybe wooden products, metal products, those types of products. So if you want to do bamboo, for example, then you won't go to China or Vietnam. It's India or Vietnam, it's China. Only China does, processed bamboo kind of products. If you want to do something cotton, organic cotton specifically, you might consider India. So there are a lot of different factors to consider before you decide on, diversifying your sourcing market.
Okay, thank you. Probably I have maybe preempt you on India and can discuss further.
Yeah, sure. We can send you some resources on sourcing from India and you can take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can also visit our website, indiasourcing.net. And there are some suppliers over there. There's sourcing agents, freight forwarders. So for India, we've tried to make it easy because we have vetted all the service providers and freight forwarders. So there's a lot of resources already available for sellers to source. Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I think in essence, it's really the product that you're dealing with and will determine where you source from. I think Magdalene did mention that. So yeah, for me, that would be the key criteria.
Exactly. Okay, next. So another question from Cynthia. If I plan to send a few products to 3PL, then to Amazon, how many units should I send to Amazon for a start? How to do shipping plan for this?
Oh, okay. So how much to send to Amazon for a start? First, I would use Helium 10 X-ray to look at what kind of numbers similar type of products are selling per month, especially those from newer listings. And then I would probably, if I already have stock in the States with a 3PL, then I might send in, let's say, what I expect to sell in 1 to 3 months or 1 or 2 months. Yep. And if I have to restock, let's say from India or China, then I would send in more for a start, right? Probably. But yeah, so that's one. Second half of your question, how to do shipping plan for this? Just go into Seller Central, the same thing like you've done shipping plan for overseas. This is the only difference is when you do your shipping plan, make sure you select because your stock, your inventory is already in the US, make sure you select Amazon partner carrier, because that way you will book prepaid UPS shipping through Amazon, and the rate is very, very, very cheap. It's way lower than any other shipping option. The other way is depending on the 3PL you work with. Some 3PLs, their workflow would be you create user permission for them to access the shipping portion of your Seller Central account. And so all you have to do is tell like with one of my 3PLs, all I do is send him a Facebook message like literally. And I say, hey, I would like to ship X quantity of this product. And then he'll reply and say, okay, it'll go out tomorrow. And then I don't even have to think about downloading labels or creating shipping plan. He goes into my account and does everything. And then after that, I get the invoice.
Okay. So Charmaine Wee has the next question, but I think, okay. Hi, Jason, do you source from 1688?
I don't buy anything from 1688 myself, like directly. I sometimes, depending on the product, if it's appropriate, I might go onto 1688 just to like get like a ballpark idea of the pricing.
Yeah, many times suppliers that you see on 1688, they might not be, factories, and they might not be export experienced. Of course, it's a hit or a miss. I know somebody who was sourcing from 1688 and they started having issues with the quality of the product. But of course, at the same time, there are lots of people who are sourcing from 1688 and they're doing okay. So yeah. Okay, Farha, with the rising shipping prices, how much stock would you keep at Amazon warehouse at a given time? Would a 3 to 6 months time be appropriate? I understand Amazon now has new rules where they will remove inventory if it stays for 6 months or more. I think it's 1 year, right? If it,
yeah,
is it 1 year or? Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought it was 1 year.
I don't think it's 66 months. But Farah, I'd be careful how much you've got in there in Q4, because your storage rate is, I think it's 75 cents at the moment. And Q4, it's about $2.40 or $2.60 a cubic meter. So you don't want to have 1,000 items sitting in there in Q4 if you're only going to sell 300 or 400. You've got to work out what you believe you're going to sell in those months. And last year, I actually thought, I'm not playing this game of paying Amazon a huge storage bill. So I left my stock in my 3PL because it's about 75 cents sort of deal in there. And I'd slowly drip fed. It was a little bit of, I needed to check regularly I had enough stock, but Amazon now have a really great tool called inventory planning. So if you go into inventory, drop down your inventory planning tab and open that up, it will tell you today you need to put in X amount of these, because they like you to have like usually about 60 days stock, so if you've sold 100, they'll tell you to put in another 50 to make it up to 200. So you've always got enough to last about 60 days. So use that tool to get a guide of how much stock you're going to actually sell in that Q4, because those fees can absolutely destroy your profit margin totally if you've got a few products in there and you're paying and you don't sell them in that time.
Yep. The other thing is Amazon has storage limits. I'm not sure for your accounts what your storage limits are. It dynamically changes for every account, and for my account it's pretty high because I have a strategic account manager who gives me extra storage. But a few things that I'm keeping in mind for my own Amazon inventory management. Number one, I practice I tend towards a just-in-time kind of model, meaning I try to be inventory light and keep it moving. But because of that, the disadvantage is I do more often than I like, I run out of stock. So this is my main thing that I want to address, like in my own Amazon sales this year. I was talking to my Amazon account manager. I was telling her because her goal is to make my sales increase by like 10 to 20% to keep her job. And then I said, to be honest, if I just stayed in stock for all my products all the time, I probably would increase my sales by 30 to 50%.
Is that because you haven't got the stock in America, or just because you don't take it out of the 3PL in time?
A combination of both.
Yeah, no, because check out that. Do you use that inventory planning report?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I find that great. I like that.
So my plan this year is actually, especially in preparation for Q4, like last December was my worst sales month ever for like many years, because by mid-November, I ran out of stock of everything. Almost.
What a problem.
Yeah, good problem. I was like, I think I'll sell like 1,000 units of these every month, and then like suddenly like they're all gone in 2 weeks. But so what I plan to, the other major, actually the main reason was because besides the high sales last year, was that the restocking took forever, especially the international shipping. So my overseas shipments, I ordered them in August. They shipped out in September. I thought they would arrive in Amazon by end October, just in time for November, December. But those shipments only are checked into Amazon in January.
Actually, have you had any bills for demurrages yet?
Sorry?
Have you had any bills for demurrages yet from the shipping lines?
No.
No, because what happened is, because if your product has been sitting out on the water for 2 months, I know a couple of people here in Australia who have just been hit with, and I'm not kidding, $10,000 additional bill. Now
Wow.
they've just got it last week because the shipping line it's now catching up with all these people that were using space for sitting on the water. So that if you're coming from China, you've got to be very careful this year, because the way China's going at the moment, I think shipping's going to be a bigger nightmare probably than it was last year. And if you get, shipping that you can't get in, but if you put it in too early, you could get stuck in it. Just might be an absolute nightmare at the port again. And you don't want to be paying, because these people are they're saying this $10,000 is, probably worth more than their product. But it's too late now because it's been accepted, they've sold it, but it didn't happen. So hopefully you don't get one of those bills.
Yep. So what I planned, my plan this year is to actually leverage on 3PLs in the US to have stock there. So for example, I have a couple of 3PLs I use. One of them, their headquarters is in Atlanta, Georgia, and they have also they have another facility in California. I also have a 3PL in Arizona that I use. And so what I plan to do is, by the middle of the year, I'm going to ship off my stock for Q4 to the 3PLs. I've already
you looked
set
at going to a different port other than California, Jason? Have you looked at shipping to some other port where there's no congestion?
Yeah, like Texas or whatever. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But I like the idea of, I'm good with storing with the US 3PLs, because then they can drip feed much quicker into Amazon. And then the 3PLs, like last year, for a season, they also helped me do a fulfillment by merchant, which I don't really like to do, but sometimes,
if you run out,
no way around it. Yep. So I think that would be some options worth considering, Farah. And the 3PLs don't have like the peak period surcharge.
No, it's much more economic. They do have fees, and it can become quite expensive as well. You need to research your 3PL and how much they charge, because some of them can be charging like up to $35, $40 a pallet, and if it's there for longer, they charge more. So make sure you find a reasonably priced 3PL that doesn't sort of penalise you if the stock's sitting there for more than a couple of months and things, because there's some high-priced 3PLs out there, because it's an opportune time for them, because everyone needs a 3PL now because of Amazon's stock limits. So, it's a price. They're all making lots of money because they can at the moment, because we need them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's take last couple of questions. JC, do you recommend launching new products during Prime Day?
I don't have any preference for or against launching on Prime Day. It's inconsequential in my opinion.
Okay. Sean, you mentioned with the shipping issues from China to US worse than last year, potentially incurring extra fees for ships delayed on water. Does it make sense to still produce a new product?
As long as it pays the string.
Well, your old products, if it's coming from there, will also potentially encounter the same issue. So it's not an issue of new product or not. So
It's just hard to know what's going to happen with China at the moment, because it's, you know, if it keeps having this delays and COVID shutdowns, everyone is going to be going crazy to get their stock in. So it's just going to make it a lot more congested and harder. But let's hope maybe that the ports in California can improve their ways of working as well. Because I mean, it's not just the China end, it's the US end where the port isn't able to cope, or, you know, they need to, I don't know, do something there as well.
They need an overhaul.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody's in the same boat, right? In terms of costs. So basically just
That's
do it.
punny.
Sean is saying, just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Okay, cool. Any more?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, Sean, don't let that be an obstacle to you. Like if you have a product that you want to run with, don't let like these things like hold you back. Because everybody's facing, that's just the reality of the world, right?
Yeah,
it's a world, and I mean, there's so many things. I mean, you've got, you know, the Ukraine war, you've got, you know, trucks in the US, transport costs, fuel costs, it just, the list goes on and on. So I think if you're going to wait, you'll never do it.
Yeah, there's always something or the other that's
happening.
Lilian is asking, may I know if you see any sales decrease recently due to inflation?
Wow.
Well, I could say, and I don't know, I found that January, February, and March weren't as good as last year, and quite a few people I know were in the same boat. But I'm touching wood, and I'm going to touch my head and everything else. My sales so far for April have been quite good, so I'm feeling a bit more optimistic that maybe, I don't know, it's now turning to the time in America where people are starting to prepare for summer and getting back into, you know, and maybe got over all the dramas in the world moving forward.
I'm not sure whether like macroeconomic kind of inflation has that quick of a effect on the real world, like shopping spend. I did see, like same as Margaret, my experience was January, February sales were generally lower. I don't think it's as much due to inflation as people have just online shopping fatigue after 2 years of COVID. And then like restrictions started lifting, people started like, hey, let me go to the shopping mall again. But then in March, I think it was like maybe about exactly 4 weeks ago, my sales suddenly doubled, like consistently, like every single day, like compared to January, February. So I was like, I guess people are shopping again.
And I think too, if there is a problem with the economy, you know, you probably need to sell something that people need, not things that people want. So if it's a, you know, pretty vase to put on your bench that you can live without, you know, it might not sell. But if it's, you know, that pair of tongs you need to turn the meat in the barbecue, you're going to sell it. So I think you've got to give it a bit of thought. Is this something that people need or something that people want? And that'll probably be the difference if the economy goes down.
Okay. Last question from Farah. When sourcing wooden products, is it the supplier or freight forwarder who should provide the Lacey Act plus fumigation certificate plus FDA inspection certificate?
Supplier.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily need an FDA inspection certificate. I mean, for wooden products,
you just pay a fee. I do pay an FDA fee. But look, your supplier, Farah, you're coming out of India, so you shouldn't have any issues. Your supplier will be able to do a Lacey Act and the required, it's just a couple of documents. But Sea Air are really good on all that, and they will make sure that everything is, you know, they'll go back to, I never know. It happens. My supplier and Shamishka work together and it's all done for me. I don't have to say, oh, I need a Lacey Act. They know they've got, you know, wood coming into the port, so they know they need that paperwork. So if you use a reputable shipper who knows their stuff, it's not going to be a problem.
It's just standard part of the process for them. I think the confusion maybe, both supplier and freight forwarder are involved, but it's the supplier who has the certificate and they need to hand that over to the freight forwarder because the freight forwarder needs to clear customs.
Yeah. Usually the freight forwarder will go to the supplier directly to ask for this, and they'll just copy you on the email. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think let's wrap it up here. But before we go, Jason, do you want to quickly talk about your next training? When are the dates? Do you have your dates yet? I think most people here have probably done your training. They're already selling, but there's going to be people watching the replay as well. So do you have dates for the next training? And I'll just put in the link over here.
Yep. I don't have a set date yet. It's probably going to be in, well, sometime in May. But if you go to my website and the link that Megla will share, there is a email or Facebook Messenger button there where you just click to be informed. That will tag you, and then once the dates are up, I'll be sure to send you either a Facebook private message or an email.
Okay, cool. And I also want to tell everyone that we are hosting our India sourcing trip in October. Yay! After 3 years, we can't wait to go there. So tickets are not available yet, but in case anyone's interested in learning more about the trip, or if you want to, take a look at the prices, etc., when tickets are available, then sign up for the waiting list here. I've just put in the link. It's a Google form. You can put in your name onto this waiting list, and then we'll email you when tickets are available in the next couple of weeks. And okay, what's the cost? So Ben, the way that this trip works is that it's an 8-day trip to India, and it's an all-inclusive trip. So it includes, hotel, food, transportation. We do a full-day conference, visit to a trade show, 3 days. We visit factories, we do a Bollywood night, we do a couple of nights where, we're just networking and masterminding with other coaches. We've got a Taj Mahal trip as well, a day trip to the Taj Mahal. We stay in a nice 5-star hotel, and it's like fully managed. So the only thing that you need to cover is your airfare. And apart from that, everything else is covered in the trip. And as soon as you
for some of your alcoholic drinks on a few nights, we pay for about half, I think, isn't it 3 nights or something? So you've got to pay for your drinks the other 3 if you want to drink. That's about it.
It's like unlimited. Yeah, we've got happy hour, unlimited 2 hours, drink as much as you can. So that's a lot of fun. And we've got quite a few, coaches as well. We've got Tim Jordan coming in from the US, and some other coaches, CJ Rosenbaum, and probably Jason too. Jason, we have to talk to you about the trip. So yeah, check it out. The website is indiasourcingtrip.com. If you want to see videos and photos from the previous trip, you can do that at indiasourcingtrip.com. I'll just quickly post the link over here, but otherwise you can also just go to this Google form and then put in your name on the list, and then we will send you an email once tickets are available. So the cost is it starts at $4,500 US. That's the starting price, and that's for the early bird and for sharing the hotel room, so double occupancy in the hotel room. And then if you want single occupancy, it's $5,000 US. So that's it, and that's the URL there, indiasourcingtrip.com. Cool. Okay, so I think that's it for today. And if you guys have any questions, we are also available in the Telegram group of the Asian sellers. So feel free to join the group over there. And we will see you next month for another Ask Me Anything session. All right, take care, everyone. Yep. Bye.
Bye.